Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Dia Hari Suryaningrum. Welcome to this tutorial. Today I will present about accounting system, chapter 3 about form. So what is the definition of form? Now you can see here that the form is a piece of paper that has room or empty space to fill. This is the form for invoice. You can see here that we can fill this form by filling the empty space. The empty space is here, and when someone buy a cloth maybe or something, you can fill it in this form, this empty form with number, and then what is the code for this the merchandise. You can, maybe the code is 117, and then the description you can find here is a dress, something like that. Then when the unit is 1, the price is 20,000 and the total is 20,000. Okay, and then we don't have to do this. Sometimes it is still empty, but and the salesman or saleswoman will fill his or her signature here. Okay, this is the form. The form means a piece of paper that has room to fill or empty space to fill. And then what is electronic form? Electronic form is a space display. If this is a computer or a laptop or anything else, this displayed on a computer screen that is used to capture data to be processed in the electronic data processing. So the same thing in this display of the computer, you can type in this empty space in this display in the computer, and then type what you need to type. Like when you fill out your accounting program, like you are going to program this semester, you have to type maybe the name of the subject of the course. Okay, and electronic form, what is the benefit of electronic form? There is some benefit in the electronic form. First is this: using electronic form, we cannot or never run out of papers, since if we have a paper form, we will run out or we'll need to buy another paper if we run out of the form. So using electronic form, we never find that we don't have any form to fill out. And then second, never goes out of date. Goes out of date means there's no obsolescence in the form, in the electronic form. If we need to add another space or another information in the form, we can do it right away, and not like paper form that we have to make it first if we need to add another column in the form. But with electronic form, we don't need to do that. And then form inefficiency can be avoided. So if we fill out a paper form, when we make a mistake, we need to change the paper to make it to another form. Like if we want to fill dress 1, but we make a mistake, and then we have to do it again with another form. But with electronic form, we don't have to do that. We just type again the right one. Okay, and then it is not possible to use the wrong form. Like I said, with electronic form, one of the benefit is there is no wrong in the form, since when we need to make, like you want to make a course plan, you have to input your plan in the paper, or sorry, in the electronic form for a course plan. You don't, if you get another form in the display on the or in the computer, you can see that there is the wrong form. And then speed in filling the form. Speed in filling the form, it means that using electronic form, we have to type it, of course, and sometimes we can fill out the form by this one, by using, like me now, by using my pen, my stylus pen. But when you are filling out paper form, sometimes you have to type the code of the form, like I explained before in the first slide. But with this electronic form, like when you fill out your course program for the next semester, you just fill out your name, the name of the course, the name of the subject of the course, and then the code is automatically in the display, automatically on the display. Okay, and then data capture is performed once. Like when you first become a student in UPN, you just need to type your profile, your curriculum, like your name, your address, your mother or father's name, your home, your only once. Okay, you don't have to make it again. If we make an example for a bank, when you make an account for deposit account, it is different when you make another account. If you make 2 deposit account, the computer will know that you have the first account, so you don't need to make another account, something like that. And then no floating data, it means that every single data that you type in the electronic form, it automatically will be processed, not like for the paper form. Sometimes we forget when we put the paper form, and then it become a mistake if we don't make it to the next process. But in the electronic form, we can manage it without thinking about that. After we fill out the form will be automatically processed. Okay, and then the last benefit is ease of managing form. This means that with electronic form, we don't have any stack of paper that sometimes we forget. Sometimes maybe in our desk, some other paper form is some other document that we have filled out, the form is already filled out, is a document, it is in the cupboard or in anywhere else. But with electronic form, we just make one single place to to file. When we use paper form, we make it with filing cabinet, but with this electronic form, we can place or we can file our data in one place. Okay, and then what is the benefit for the companies? Form are useful for, this is the usefulness of the form. First is, form is to assign responsibility for the emergence of company. It means that, what is the emergent? The emergent is the business transaction that start the transaction in the company. It is the responsibility. Who is the responsibility to do it? Who has to make or who has to fill out the form? Like when you filling out your accounting program for the course for the next semester, it means KRS. So it is you who responsible in making it. If you make the wrong choice or the wrong transaction or the wrong data, it is your fault, not others. Okay. And then second, the form is to record company business transaction data. Of course, when the transaction happening, the company has to record this transaction. Like when there is a sales transaction, and then you have to record the transaction using the form. And next, form will reduce the possibility of error by expressing all occurrences in writing. It means that reduces possibility is like the test, like echoing test. If you type, like when you type you filling out your accounting program for the next semester, like KRS, then you don't have any error because the code of the subject or the course is automatically you can see it in the display of your computer or laptop or your gadget. Next is useful. The form is useful for passing basic information from one user to another in the same organization to order or to other organization. So you can see here that using this electronic form or using form, we can pass information or give another person in the company about this information. Like in the purchase cycle or the purchase system, we use when your unit is when your unit is lack of paper, you may ask for the company to, it means your purchase department, to buy paper since you lack of this paper. Okay, this is the type of form by the source. Source means who make it. So according to the type of the form, there are form which is form created and stored in the company. So you can have something form something like this, who is create in the company and for the company. As I give you an example before, if your unit is lack of paper or lack of pen or something else, you can ask for the purchasing department to buy this merchandise or this good. Okay. Next, form created and sent to parties outside the company. Sometimes this is the form who will pass to another company. When the purchasing department is lack of paper or pen or anything else, the purchasing department, by using your requisition form, will ask for their supplier to buy from the supplier, and then it calls purchase order, and then the supplier will send by information in the purchase order. The supplier will send the merchandise. Next is form received from parties outside the company, and then sometimes also company will have or will receive a form from other company. It is, the example is when the supplier send your purchase, there is a form indicating what kind of merchandise you buy, and then how many, something like that. Okay, this is form received from other parties. From other parties mean outside the company. It is also from the customer or from the supplier. Okay, next is type of form according to their intended use. What is the useful of the form? This is the form sometimes created to request an action to be performed. As I can tell you before, when, for example, when you are a bookstore and you are selling book, and then when you doing stock opening, you find that your maybe accounting system book is lack out of accounting system book, and then you will ask or request to the purchasing department to buy this book. The form you use is called requisition form. Requisition form to request to buy something to the purchase department. And then next is form used to record action that has been carried out. Sometimes when you, again, the example is a bookstore. When the customer buy your book in the bookstore, you will have to take action by recording the sales transaction. Okay. And next is basic principle underlying for designing a form. The basic principle is wherever possible, make use of a copy of the form. So you have to understand how many copy you need for the form. So when you study in the next chapter, maybe in the sales cycle or sales system, you will see that for the sales invoice, you have to make it like 7 copies or maybe only 5 copies, depends who will make use of this copy of the form. And next, avoid duplicate data collection. It means then you don't have to make a form that there is the same information that you have to fill out. So you have to fill out only one data at a time, or at each form. Next, third is make the form design as simple and concise as possible. So you have to make the form is very simple and concise. You don't have to make a form like there is need to fill out like 3 pages of paper when you have to complete or to fill out a form. Next, include an internal check element in designing the form. In accounting, you have to do something like this one. Like if again we use the bookstore, when you have to sell a book, you have to make an invoice about the book, and then the cashier don't need to make another form, because the cashier only check your form, your sales form or sales invoice to take the money from the customer. So there is an internal check in this designing form. And then fifth, include the name and address of the company on the form that will be used for communication with outsider. So there is a difference from the use of the form when it is used for outsider or external users. The form need to have the company name and address. But if the form used only for the internal users, you don't need to make the form have a name or address of the company, since internal transaction, the users already know who or where the name and the address of their work, where they work. Next, number 6, include the name of the form for easy identification. You have to make your form for outsiders or for internal users easy to understand and easy to read, okay, and easy to identify. So you have to make it. A sales invoice is very different with sales invoice. Invoice is not the same with what is it? Another form like checkbook. Since the checkbook need to make a payment for the company, then the sales invoice is to record the sales transaction. That is very different between this form. Okay, give a number to identify the form. So in each of this form, you have to print the number of the form. So when someone use this form and make a mistake, if this is a paper form, when someone make a form and then make a mistake, the supervisor will know that there is a number missing. And also the checkbook, if you forget or you make a mistake in making a checkbook, a check for paying someone, and then there is a number is missing, so the missing number have to be recorded. And it also can be used to what is it? Can be used for the company to know the performance of each employee. If there is 5 salesmen in the company and the one salesman always make a mistake, there is a record how many number missing in his or her record. Okay, and then 8, include line numbers on the left and right of the form if a white form is used to minimize possibility incorrect filling. So you can see here, if sometimes people have a difficulty to know the line. So if there is an empty form, this is an empty form, you have to make it this is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and then this is number 1, number 2, number 3, 4. So if it is a very wide, the form is very wide, you have to make it like this, so you know that this is still in the first line and then the second line and so on. And this is also the same one. You then give number, and the number must be included in printed serial number. Like I said before, if someone make a mistake, we will know that one number, serial number, is missing. And the 11, design certain form in such a way that fillers only put a check mark or cross sign, or by answering yes or no to save time to filling it. you will know something like that. If you make a form, sometimes you don't need to, you just have to like sorry, you I'm thinking about the example. When you check out the form in paper or in electronic form, filling out your credentials like name, you have to type the name, and then what's it, a student number, letter number, and when there is a sex, you just have to fill out this is male or female. So you just have to check it, to make a check mark on this little space here. Okay, this is or maybe there is a question something about have you been to Bali? So there is only yes or no. Oh, you have to check the no or the yes. If yes, check mark yes. No, no. Okay, this is easier. And then arrange multiple form by inserting single-use carbon or by using multiple uses carbon or print on carbonless paper. So sometimes if you need like 3 copies of some form, 3 copies, you don't have to type it 3 times, or you don't have to write it 3 times, but you can use carbon to make it multiple. You know, carbon sometimes we make it in company. Sometimes there is a carbonless paper, which is if you write in the first copy of the paper, automatically the next paper will copy your writing. Okay, and then next is the zoning is such that the form divided according to the block of logical area containing interrelated data. So the form has to be very specific. As we can see before, I will give you to the first. You can see here that the form is very specific and the data is interrelated. Let me try the first. Here's the first one. I mean this one. So you can see here there is a block for the company's name and address, and also their phone number, and then there is a block for what kind of information needed to be filled out here. Number of the telephone, the telephone for this consumer means customer, and then there is also a very interrelated data about this sales transaction. This is it means by zoning or blocking in the making block in this form. Okay, I'm sorry that I have to go to the first. Next, what is next? This one, zoning one. And then when is form required? Form will be required if an incident or an event must be recorded. Like there is an event of sales transaction, so we need a form to record the sales transaction. Next is if we need a form if certain information must be recorded repeatedly. Like you have to make a journal from the source document transaction. The journal is you have to do it repeatedly, or sales transaction you have to make a sales transaction repeatedly, so you need to make a form to do it with the same standard and the same information. And then next, if various information is interconnected, need to be put together in the same place. So as we can see before, when there is a sales transaction, there are some data that has to be recorded in the same form, like the code of the merchandise itself, the unit, and then how much money you have to spend to buy the merchandise, something like that, in the same form. This is the zoning of the area of the form. I'm sorry, I use this example from the Mulyadi book. There is the zone for the name of the form. Maybe we can set as invoice, or if we see here, this is about sales invoice. Okay? This is the zone for the organization, and the name of the organization, address, and sometimes phone. And then this for the controlling, like there is a number printed in this invoice, and then the date of the invoice, and who is filling out the form. And then there's the zone for the content of the form. The content of the form is about the detailed content. In this one is the description, detailed information, description, quantity, model, price, and the amount, and else what you need. It depends on the company. And then there is a zone for description, like instruction or distribution for other people or other employee in the same company. Maybe instruction for the packaging department that this transaction has to be packed carefully. Sometimes depends on the merchandise you are selling. And then zone of authorization, who make the this is a message mean who make this form, and then his or her signature. And then this is the number, depends, you may put this number in the corner up, the top corner of this form, or the depends on the company, it depends. And then the total, if there is a tax in it, and then if there is a discount also, we can put this in the same form. Okay, what is factors that we have to consider in making or design a form? First is who needs the information recorded on the form. So usually when we make a form, we have to understand who needs this form, who will use this information for the form. Like in this invoice, we will know who need to make this form. Okay, who have to know about the invoice form? Yes, of course, for the accounting, and then for the cashier, and then for the packaging department. Okay, you can see in the form what kind of merchandise, and then you can pack it differently for the packaging department. And then for the cashier, she or he can see how much money have to bill or have to be paid in this form. And then for the accounting department, they can fill out they can automatically see and know that they have to fill out or to record the sales transaction, who needs the information. And then is there information that is designed and used today to contain the same information? So the same information may be used repeatedly, so you have to make it clear how many times or how many invoice has been used. Next, what are the elements that should be included? The element is, as I said before, about the zoning of the form. What is element? The detail of the transaction, the detail of the form to be used. And then does it require handwriting or machine processing? So you can see here, if the form is to be written, so you have to make the form have a line in the form. Sometimes, like me, sometimes when I write something, sometimes I write it like up and then down if there is no line in the form. Okay, so you have to differentiate. If this is a machine processing form, you don't need to make a line, since with the machine processing, automatically the machine will make it in order in the same line. Okay, and then is the form filled with pencil, ink, typewriter, or special machine? There is the difference between these things too. Depends on the quality of the form. If it is have to be written by pencil or by ink, like when it is have to be filled out with the ink, sometimes we have to use a better quality than when it is used by the pencil, because the ink, sometimes the inks will be blotted. Like blotted means kalau inknya itu, if the ink is leak, if the ink is leak or bocor ya, pennya itu bocor inknya, and then if the paper is not good enough, and then it will be blotted in this form. Will the form be archived? And then if we have to save the form in the filing cabinet, we have to understand or to make this form is sturdier, is thicker. So if you have to save this form in other map, so when it is going to be archived in the filing cabinet, the form will not be damaged, because the form is have to be saved inside the map. So what information required when you redesign a form or designing a form? First is those concerned with the activities of providing, filing, and recording information from the form. So you have to know who concerned with these activities, who is to provide, and then you are providing this form for the sales department, and then who is filling out this form, and then after that, after filling out the form, who will record this fill out form, and then who is information from the form to give in. And then the next, those concerned with the form itself, for example regarding its content and the number of copies thereof, and the number of copies and the type of the paper used. This is also depends on the when we have to design a form, we have to be concerned about this one. And then source documents and supporting documents. What is source documents? Source documents is the basis or the basic in recording a journal or a subsidiary book. It depends. Sometimes you just need to make a subsidiary book to make a journal, depends. And what is supporting document? Supporting document is document attached to the source document as a proof of the validity of the transaction recorded in the source document. So if there is a cash sales, the cash sales invoice is the source document, and then the related supporting document is the cash register ribbon. If the company use cash register, there is a receipt. It is an evidence for receiving the cash. So if you are in the accounting department, when you make a journal from this transaction, you have to check if there is a source document, the invoice, and then the cash register ribbon to make a journal in the cash sales transaction. And then if about credit sales, there is a sales invoice. Of course it is credit sales, you don't have a cash register ribbon since this is a credit with sales invoice, credit sales. So you don't need to have a money or cash register ribbon, but you have to have this one to make sure that the sales invoice is really valid or it's really happening. The good delivery report and bill of lading is a form to what is it? In Indonesia it is called surat muat, but in English it is called bill of lading. When you sell something and then you send the merchandise or the goods to the customer, you need to fill out a bill of lading. This is the supporting document for the sales transaction. So next you have to do this exercise individually. Remember, this is individual assignment, so please don't do it with your friends, but do it by yourself. You may scan this barcode or you may check this link to do this self exercise. Okay, and this is the book I use for this subject now about form. This is the Mulyadi Sistem Akuntansi SAlemba 4 4th edition. Okay, thank you for this explanation about form. In Indonesia it's formulir, or in English it is form. If you have any question, you may ask me in our meeting. I hope it is very useful for you, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.